Welcome to the SharePoint Patterns and Practices webcast. And this time we'll have a look on the Site Collection App Catalog for SharePoint add-ins and SharePoint Framework solution. This is a great new capability which is giving you the option to target your solutions and SharePoint Framework add-ins and SharePoint Framework solutions in a more scoped way, and also delegating the, let's say, management of the solutions for site collection administrators. My name is Esa Juvonen. I'm a senior program manager from SharePoint Engineering, and with me today as a community member on this webcast is Waldek Mastercards. Waldek, will you do the quick intros?
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. My name is Waldek Mastercards. I'm Office Development MVP. I work at Rancor, and today we will be talking about the Site Collection App Catalog for SharePoint add-ins and SharePoint Framework solutions.
Excellent. Thank you, Waldek. And really the key point to understand here is that this Site Collection Scoped App Catalog does support both SharePoint add-ins and SharePoint Framework solutions. So you can absolutely use this capability for both the classic, well, I wouldn't say the classic SharePoint add-ins, the SharePoint add-ins, and also for SharePoint Framework solution. And how does it actually work in practice? Now, typically in the past, you always had a app catalog in a tenant level. So you have a Office 365 tenant or SharePoint Online tenant, whatever you want to call that. And then you have the SharePoint, in the SharePoint side, you have the tenant app catalog. So you'll get your add-ins available within the site to get installed by adding those to the tenant app catalog or add-ins and SharePoint Framework solutions. Now, this capability enables people to target those add-ins and solutions in a site collection level. But to be able to do so, the tenant administrator first has to enable that capability in the specific site collection. So it's not intended to be used across all of the site collections, because that probably doesn't make that much sense. The whole point is that the tenant administrator explicitly enables the Site Collection Scoped App Catalog, for example, in a subset of site collections or in one site collection. The scenario would be something like, hey, we have a global intranet, plus we have tens of thousands of collaboration sites, and we want to actually have a subset of add-ins or SharePoint Framework solutions available in that global intranet site collection, but not available in the collaboration sites. Or alternatively, what if you want to test and pilot some of your upcoming capabilities in a subset of site collections, but not across the whole tenant? So you can use the Site Collection Scoped App Catalog for that. And the tenant administrator has to enable this capability. So there's still the governance layer, so the administrative layer, and whoever owns the tenant will enable that capability in a site collection level. And at that point, the site collection administrator can then start installing and adding capabilities to these app catalogs in a site collection level, which will then make sure that you're able to install them in the inside of that site collection and subsites and everything else. So it is really for add-ins and slash apps, whatever you want to call them, and also for SharePoint Framework solution. The whole system works for both of these options. Any questions on this one, Waldek, actually?
Yeah. So because when I think about it, it's might be for some hard to understand like what's exactly the benefit, right? So in the past, when you would deploy either add-in or SPFx to catalog in your tenant, what you would get is like with add-ins, you had two options. You would deploy it to your sites and then make it available in all sites to be installed, right? So you would go to every single site that you wanted to, and you would say add an app. And at that point, you would actually install the add-in in your site. Or with add-ins, you had also the option to install it globally in all sites, and then you would install it actually in the app catalog side, and then it would be already available in all sites. Correct?
Correct. That is correct.
With SPFx, there's a similar approach, because we can go to the app catalog tenant or the tenant app catalog when we add the package there and deploy it, we can then add it to all sites, or we can use the tenant scope deployment, and then everything becomes available across all sites.
Correct.
So what is the benefit here, right? So the benefit here is that not everybody will have the option to actually install or add the add-in in the site, correct? That option will not be available to everybody, where it is available if you use the tenant app catalog, correct?
Correct. Yes. So let me kind of rephrase this one. So if you think about let's think about this from a SharePoint Framework solution perspective only. So with the SharePoint Framework solution, you have the tenant scope deployment option, which means that the solution or the web part, as an example, is immediately available across the tenant. So this is not designed for that. And the site-specific app catalog is not designed for tenant scope deployment option. And what is really, well, technically, there's nuances behind of that statement, but let's not actually worry about that one. So technically, this is designed for the scenario where your SharePoint Framework solution is designed to be installed explicitly on a site. It might do some feature framework provisioning on a site, or you want to target the functionality to be available only when it's actually getting installed. If an end user goes to add an app on a site, what's getting visible there is dependent on those add-ins which are in tenant app catalog. So using this one, you'll also see those add-ins which are only in the site collection app catalog underneath that particular site collection. Did that make sense?
Right. So if
there's
you
quite a few
want,
layers actually on this discussion.
Yeah, exactly, right. So in other words, if you want your thing, whether an add-in or SPFx solution that you've built, to be available only in specific site collections, this is exactly what you need.
Correct.
You have to deploy it to the app catalog, site collection, app catalog, and not tenant one.
Correct. Yes.
So if you really want to ensure that only the sites that you chose have that available and not everybody, because in other way, if you deploy it to the tenant app catalog, that will be available for everybody to install.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
So why is this important? We kind of went through a lot of these things already in the previous slide as well, but this is really around providing the flexibility for enterprises on the deployment options. The site collection scoped app catalog does give you the decentralized management of the add-ins and SPFx packages. So let's say a classic example would be that HR or whatever business organization, they want to have more flexibility. They want to have their own widgets to be only available within their site collection. And they don't, or you as a tenant administrator, you do not want to get, let's say, be the bottleneck of them getting their stuff deployed. So you're able to then activate the site collection scope app catalog for them to manage what add-ins are being available, what SharePoint Framework solutions are being available within that site collection. The second dimension, no doubt, is the scope deployment of add-ins and SharePoint Framework solutions. So you're able to target those solutions to be available only in a subset of site collections, and that's a super cool capability. Now, with great flexibility, there's obviously increased responsibility as well, which we always need to remember. So sure, this provides flexibility for enterprises from a deployment option perspective. Now, at the same time, it increases the risks, or it increases the requirement of training these people to understand what does the add-in actually mean, what does the SharePoint Framework solution mean, because so that they don't accidentally just download stuff from the internet and start putting them on their site collection. But let's not make this as a scary, no, don't do this discussion. But there is an additional layer of governance to be taken into account whenever you enable this capability in your site collection. So the people who manage that site collection scope app catalog, they need to understand what does it actually mean. Anything you want to add on that one, Waldek? And don't scare people too much. But
no, actually, yeah. So the one thing that I've seen a lot in the past is that there's a big need. Like when you want to give solution to a certain team, it's easier to ensure that it works only for them than it works for everybody across the whole intranet.
Yeah.
So with the fact that actually this catalog, a site collection app catalog, empowers us to actually do that, right? It allows us to release things only for a particular set of sites and not to everybody, meaning that the test surface decreases.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, as you said, right, there's also the fact that we can now deploy things only to certain sites doesn't really free us from the requirement to actually verify what's inside the package. Sure. And actually there are two things, right? So for add-ins, sure, the risk is still there, but it's not as big, right? Because whatever you build, permissions for that are only scoped to that particular site.
Yep.
With SPFx, that's not the case, because whatever scripts are running on a page, they run as a part of the page.
Sure.
So even you deploy your solution only to one site, scripts from that site can access on your behalf the whole intranet.
Sure.
Right? So that's why it's still important that you verify what's inside the package and if it's okay to run it.
Yeah.
Right? Because there is no way for you to isolate it only to that one site.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one kind of additional thing which we also mentioned on the previous slide, but this is super powerful also, the site collection app catalog is super powerful for, let's say you want to do piloting. You want to test your, let's say, upcoming capabilities, SharePoint Framework solutions in production environment without actually releasing them to be available for your end users. So you can actually then create a separate site collection where you do the pilots of your solutions. You can test them in the production usage within the context of production tenant, and then after they've been signed off, you can put them in the app catalog. So it's a great, it's one way of improving, or one great improvement actually for the ALM process as well.
Yep. So how about we see it in practice, how it works?
Let's actually have a look on this one in practice. So let's jump on a desktop and have a look on how do we actually enable the site collection app catalog in practice. So what are the PowerShells and how do we do that? What does it then actually mean, and how the visibility of the add-in is dependent where it's actually getting deployed. Okay, so let's have a look on how we enable the site collection app catalog and do a scope deployment of a random add-in, or in this case, SharePoint Framework solution. So this is my site which I'm going to use in my development tenant, or in my example tenant. And what we need to do first of all is connect the admin using the SharePoint Online Management Shell. So in my case, I've already done that, so I can do a get SPO tenant, and you can actually see that I'm already connected to my tenant. So we're using the SharePoint Online Management shell to actually enable the site collection app catalog in that particular site collection. And this is essentially due to the fact that you need to have still the tenant admin permissions and tenant admin control to be able to do so. So now let's actually then enable that in this site collection. And just to show you how it's actually being visible, nothing available in the site collection for time being. And let's actually get in here and add SPO site collection app catalog, and then we can provide the URL to the site. You can actually provide that without the switch as well. So let me get in here and copy that one and paste that one in and press enter. And that's going to then execute that. If we go here, we don't exactly immediately see the library or the app catalog being present. So this takes a few seconds, and the reason for that one is that what actually happens is that there's a feature getting activated in the site collection, which is secure.
And it's already there.
And it's already right now there. But when we refresh the page immediately after executing the command, it wasn't there. So, but it comes relatively fast, so a few seconds, and that is getting replicated or provisioned.
And just to check, that works both in modern and classic sites?
This works both in modern and classic site. That is correct. So there's no difference on the experience from that perspective. So now this is exactly the same app catalog, what you have in the app catalog, in the tenant app catalog. So the behavior and functionalities are exactly the same. So how would we then use this, or how would we actually get stuff deployed on the site? So let's have a quick look on that. So I have here an example code. So let me actually get that one running from here. So this is just a really clean solution which haven't been modified at all, just getting out of scaffolding to demonstrate the capability. So let's do a gulp bundle. Gonna do the shipping, the production deployment, so to say, for this particular solution. So let's make that one happen. Let's actually slightly adjust that one bigger. And let's also do gulp package solution as the ship. So we actually get the solution created underneath the SharePoint folder. And after that has been done, we can then go to the Explorer and open up this folder and solution structure in the File Explorer. And in the solution folder, we now have the SPFx package. So let's actually do this side by side. There we go, and there's my solution, and let's actually drag and drop that one in. And as you can see, all of the basic behaviors are working as well. In my case, I didn't update actually the URLs at all. So essentially, it is still showing the path to CDN. For the demonstrational purposes, I think this is fine because we're not going to actually use the solution or the web part. It's just a matter of showing how it's feasible to be installed. So, but as you can see, that's really the reason I didn't update the configuration of my solution before I package them. So we can do deploy. So now we have this solution available within this site collection scope. And what does it actually mean is that if I go to my site contents, in the site collection where we actually now have the solution installed, so let's do a refresh here. And we can see that we have an apps for SharePoint. We have one item installed there, and the item's name was Webcast App Catalog Client-Side Solution. So now if I go in this site collection, across the site collection, multiple subsites as well, and if I go add an app, we can see that Webcast App Catalog Client-Side Solution available, and a few others which are included in the tenant level. And just to demonstrate the difference in here, I do have another site collection here, which is called another. So now if I go to site contents, well, I don't need to go here. I could have clicked add an app directly from the menu as well, but if I add an app in this site collection, I'm only seeing those two which are coming from the tenant scope. So essentially, in the one where we have the site collection scope app catalog, where we uploaded this SPPKG file available, we can see that additional solution to be available and to be installed on the site collection level. Make sense?
Absolutely, right. And I guess that it's a proof that when you deploy add-in or an app only to one site, that will stay only within that site, and no one else will be able to install that in any other site.
Correct. Yes, absolutely, and that's the whole idea. So we chatted around that one in slides, and we'll probably do that in a summary as well. But the whole point is that you're able to do scoped deployments of the solution. So if the classic scenario is no doubt, I have a global intranet and I want to have a specific SharePoint Framework solutions or add-ins only available for sites in that site collection, which is the global intranet, or subset of site collections, not across the whole tenant. And great capability, quite simple to use. The PowerShell command list is as simple as it actually gets. At the SPFx and you're able to add that one there. And obviously, if you need to remove that, you're able to do remove SPFx and also the site name there, and you're able to get that capability disabled. Technically, this does not delete the app catalog. It essentially just disables that behavior in that site collection. So we're not deleting anything from that folder and that library automatically.
Do you know if the web parts that are already placed on pages that are coming from the site collection app catalog, when you remove that, will they stay on pages and work, or will they be disabled?
They will be disabled, because basically what happens here is that you as a administrator, you're saying that, hey, in this site collection, any item in an app catalog is not fine to be executed. So the manifest is no longer valid, so therefore the individual functionality within the pages is no longer rendered. So it's not an exception, it's not an error, the functionality is not just enabled or rendered.
Cool. That makes sense. Yep.
Cool. I think that's it. So let's flip back on the slides and do a quick summary on what we went through in this webcast. Cool. I think that's it for this one. Relatively simple scenario when you think of it, but it does enable a lot of additional, let's say, options and a lot of additional flexibility, again, for the enterprises. And I really like the fact that this is, once again, this is around simplicity and flexibility for enterprises. So if you choose to use this option, it will enable you to be more successful, well, it will enable more scenarios within your SharePoint Online tenant. And it's a relatively simple thing to enable as well. So you only need to have that PowerShell commandlet and enable that in a specific site collection, and you're then good to go. You're falling under that. You can start using the site collection scope, that catalog. Anything else you want to add here, Walter?
I believe we went through the whole thing. It's a new ability. It's a new feature or a new tool that we have available in our toolbox. as you said, right, it improves adoption. It allows us to test things already in production without making it available to everybody in one big blast.
Yep.
And it also frees tenant admins from approving every single package across the whole internet.
Yes.
So it's a big improvement on management of your tenant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. I think that's it for this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll come up with a new webcast sooner or later. Thank you.
Bye.